My friends make fun of me all the time. Then you get a Belle's house and there's one glass. And I'm like, yeah, I live alone. I have one glass for me to use. If you want to drink water, use that one glass or use it disposable, because I have lived in a house where there were 100 glasses and none of them were used. And now I'm taking the extreme and I'm like, I'm minimalist. I'm going to have one glass and use my one glass.
Go on. I don't know if I have anything more. Like, perhaps because this is a show about minimalism, I'm just like, let's keep it minimal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sapiosexual platter.
Clutter. This is a word we're familiar with. Hoarding. This is something that we've seen many people do. How does having so much impact your life? That is what we'll be unpacking on today's episode. My name is Shatani Somalakai.
And I am Belsa Abo Ame.
And this is the
Sapiosexual Platter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is funny, guys. We had actually intended on speaking about something else, but our director cued us to a different topic, which is minimalism or maximalism.
Yeah.
Maximalism?
I think it is.
Not a word.
No, it is called.
Maximalism?
Yeah, maximalist.
A maximalist.
Yeah, it's a term coined on social media.
Maximalism. Man, I'm a sapiosexual. I want to challenge myself and see if that's actually a word in the dictionary. I'll be so happy.
But words are created all the time.
That's what I mean. So like, if it's not there, it's minimalism versus maximalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As per the sapiosexual platter.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting topic. And you know what? The more I think about it, I'm like, this is a great topic because I've gone through that journey.
Mm-hmm.
From the time I started working, I've always lived in 3-bedroom houses.
Mm-hmm.
The result of that is I have accumulated so much stuff over the years.
Yeah.
And this year this is 2024, I made a deliberate decision to start cutting down.
Yeah.
And I moved from a 3-bedroom apartment to a 2-bedroom apartment, which forced me to actually start, cutting things off. And I was so shocked by the number of things I had accumulated that were absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Just lying around. But what was quite shocking and also pleasantly surprising at the same time is that at the end of the decluttering process, I just felt so light. And not realizing that all of that actual physical weight was having a direct bearing on the way I move through the world. I realized that you actually carry the weight of the things that you have.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is actually a powerful discussion to have because if your parents are like my parents, if you've been to your parents' house, there's that garage which has like
1,000 things,
and I think it's the culture and it's normalized that, and you have such an attachment to things. But if you knew that like the things you have a direct bearing on the weight you carry and the way you move through the world, how would you redesign your life?
Yeah. I think for me, when it comes to just cluttering, it's interesting how people don't realize the impact of it because your environment is a direct reflection of your mind. So it's like for me, when I enter a space and it's cluttered, I look at that person and I'm like, wow. What's going on in your mind? What's going on in your mind? And it's quite scary because even when I go to people who are leaders of corporates, of big entities, and I enter your environment, I just feel like if your environment is cluttered, I look at you and I'm like, this is a direct correlation of how your mind is wired or how your mind is set up. Because your mind, your environment is a reflection of your mind. So then if you're operating with such a cluttered mind that doesn't have the ability to organize just even the environment you live in, what more about running a whole entity and a whole corporate? Because then it makes me realize then that possibly your ways are cluttered because your thinking is cluttered. So I think that is the power of minimalism and decluttering, and why we're having this conversation, because people tend to really not realize the impact that it has directly on you, what it communicates, and therefore investigating the different layers of it, we're able to bring your consciousness to just the culture of decluttering and really having the things that you need in your environment without adding all these extra one. And it brings me to a point of just wondering, like, how does having clutter come about? How does one find themselves, like, in your journey where you were in this 3-bedroom and you've shifted to 2-bedroom and you realize you had so many things that you didn't need, didn't use? How is that built up?
I think the first one would be marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Or the culture of consumption, where you see something, it looks interesting in the moment, it looks useful in the moment, it probably is useful, and then you buy it because, you know, there is that sense of, oh, that's important, and get it, you know. And so not having a sense of conscious purchase, you know, that you can't go to the shop and just buy whatever you're with money, and just buy whatever your eye desires or sees or is finds interesting, or that captures your eye in the moment. So I think we have a very we have a culture of just consumption without, you know, a real depth of thinking around why we're making those purchases. And obviously that culture is driven, or it's obviously as a result of the excessive marketing and our constant exposure to the television and the TV and social media and, you know, the cell phone. So there's always, even when you're watching stuff, you know, you can't watch anything without buy this, buy 2 get 1 free. You know, don't miss the special. It's almost like if you miss the special, something bad is gonna happen in your life. Like, it's not. But you know, so I think that's one way that culture happens. So you buy something, and because it was never something that you intended to buy, you know, you use it once, or you say you'll use it in the future, and then you don't. Then once you have it, because at the time that you bought it, you thought it would be useful. Every time you see it, you think, I'll start with it next month. And then next month turns into 6 months. And then 2 years you've had this. There were clothes that I had that never wore.
Yeah. Still have the price tags.
Still have the price tags. I was just like, this is wild. But it's simply because I'd go to the shop to buy clothes, to buy food, pass by, and there's a sale. I'm just like, oh, let's see what's there. And then wow, this would be really nice if I went to the beach. Wow, it's on sale.
And you live in a landlocked country. When are you gonna go to the beach?
Then you buy it, and you have, like, you know, bathing suits and all kinds of things that you've never worn. So that's, I think, how it really comes about.
Yeah. For me, when I look at the history in relation to our context, African context, and how it came about, when I look at cluttering, and it strikes me as a generation thing. So you made reference to, like, our parents and, you know, the garages that they have. And I realized that there's a thing about that generation that, you know, acquired a lot of things, or had a hoarding culture to them in a way. And then versus our generation and the generation after, where it's this is like minimalism, have less, you know. When I look at the history of where our parents come from, the culture they were raised under, you would have our great-grandparents who possibly were not, I wouldn't say struggling economically, but maybe were not in the positive in relations to the economics because of colonialism and the history with slavery. So then you're having people who are so used to being impoverished that when they were now able to participate and have access to certain stores that they were not allowed in, have access to certain things that they're finally having access to, they then want to hold on or to get as much as they have, because there's still that mentality in their mind of either anxiety or fear of history repeating itself, or fear of not having access anymore. It's like, now we finally have access, so let's get all that we can, and also just put some away for a rainy day, or for a day that we may experience what we've experienced in the past. Then they evolve with that, because when I look at my grandmother and I have her silver set, and I'm so grateful for that, you know, she would collect certain valuable ornaments, and there was just that one teacup or tea set that will come out once in a while.
Once every 2 years.
Once every 2 years. And I'll just be, as a child, just like wondering, like, why don't we use more of these glasses, these plates?
Yeah.
There was like a cupboard that they would place the TV on, and then when you open that cupboard, it has all like the what's it called? Fine china or something?
Yeah. It's all the china, really.
Yes.
They call it china.
Yeah.
But it's really all the, you know, all the distinct pieces in terms of like utensils and spoons and cups and sauces, you know.
Yeah, they will just keep in that cupboard, and it just
called it a room divider.
Room divider. That's it. I used to wonder what the name. It was called a room divider. Every house had a room divider.
A room divider, yeah.
With cups, plates, teaspoons. And when I was young, I just used to look at this and be so confused by it. And then you realize that because of my grandmother being that way, it rubbed off on my mom. And now my mom, literally at our home, all the wardrobes had my mom's clothes, like all of them.
In every room.
In every room. In every room. And I was just be like, you've got too many stuff. And my mom keeps buying. Like, she buys things all the time. I'm grateful for it, because half the things I have, we're beneficiaries of it. But I'm just like, can you just stop buying stuff? And then you realize that, oh, it's a culture. And when I now observe how our generation was like, we're going to do things different, it was as a reaction and a response to that. Whereas it's like, I grew up to things being hoarded, being kept, and never being used.
Like Tupperware and...
Yeah, and now I'm so extreme with it. Like, my friends make fun of me all the time. Then you get a Belle's house and there's one glass. And I'm like, yeah, I live alone. I have one glass for me to use. If you come visiting, stay 30 minutes. If you want to drink water, use that one glass or use it disposable. Because I have lived in a house where there were 100 glasses and none of them were used. And now I'm taking the extreme, and I'm like, I'm minimalist. I'm going to have one glass and use my one glass.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I observe it, I'm just like, that's how that culture was created, and how we've now transitioned into the minimalism. And it's quite just interesting.
It's very interesting. And for me, it's... Go on. I don't know if I have anything more to say. Like, perhaps because this is a show about minimalism, I'm just like, let's keep it minimal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that.
But yeah, I was just thinking about the disadvantages. What do you think the disadvantages of, you know, having so much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The disadvantages, the big one for me is it creates stagnant energy.
That's big.
So you just have, I think they're just certain principles that govern the universe, and there's the principle or the law of usage. So it's like, if you have all these things but you're not using them, you are compromising a universal law, and there are consequences to that. Because if the universe has given you certain things, then you better put them into use. And if you're not going to put them into use, take them or donate them to somebody else that would put them to use. So then compromising yourself in relation to the law of usage and not following through with it has a direct impact, because then everything is energy, as we are all aware of. So all these things have their own energy. And to just have energy that is in your surroundings, in your environment, just constantly there without being used, it creates stagnancy. So you would think, oh, it's just things in my house, I keep them. But no, they carry energy, and that means majority of the time in your house, you are having stagnant energy. And that then flows into all other aspects of your life and have an influence. So it's to really just take inventory and make sure that you invest in moving energy and making sure that it's not stagnant in one area, just as much as you invest in your work, just as much as you invest in your health. You also have to invest in decluttering or creating an ambience where there's a flow of energy and none is trapped in the stagnancy of your environment and how cluttered it is. And for me, that is the biggest one. It's the biggest one because you just feel it. There's that one drawer that just has a lot of things that you throw everything at home, and you'll think like, oh, everybody has that one drawer, but the energy of just having things in one drawer chaotically placed, without organized, without knowing where what is, just creates that stagnancy. And I just feel like if you are feeling stuck and you feel like things are not moving in your life, it is that one room that's just disorganized and has all those things. And Lorato, stop it. Get inside there, make time. Stop thinking that, oh my God, my work is important, I don't have time. Lorato, enter that room and just please organize it. And you would see money come in. You would see love come in. You would see friendships come in. You would see, yourself ascending to the next level. What do you think about the biggest negativity about maximalist or having so many things and not being used?
I think it's expensive. It's expensive.
Yeah.
When I was doing my, decluttering and, giving things, you guys, I literally had my cousins, so many people came, and like, even now I still have a few bags where I haven't given away everything. Yeah. And then when I was just thinking about the amount of money, like if I had decided that I'm just going to sell each item for like 50 pula, the amount of money that could have been made just from that stuff. And then, that's just clothes. And then there's gadgets and, it's expensive, and it's money that can really be used towards, experiences, making investments. And so it was also interesting in that sense how much more money I realized I had, when I started decluttering. And how much money is stuck in all the different things that you have lying around the house that can be used towards, saving, investing, buying more things that are more valuable, that are of actual usage. So for me, the biggest advantage by far is certainly how expensive it is.
Do you know what happened to me one day? My one drawer that has a lot of things, I decided to just organize it randomly. And then I found money.
Because literally money is lying around.
Yeah, I was so happy. I was just like, oh my God, if I didn't take the chance to just go through these documents, open these envelopes, I would have never found this piece of money. And I was just so happy. And I agree with you that it's very much expensive.
And I think it also compromises the general quality of your life. Because why do we love hotels and why do we love all these fancy places? It's really because the aesthetic, the feng shui, as the Eastern people will call it, people in the West, East rather.
Yeah, East.
The feng shui of the place. You love the hotel because it is quite minimalistic, right? There's
For those who are watching, feng shui is a principle of arranging your environment in a way that allows the energy of the place to flow and for you to thrive and be in a state of joy, peace, clarity.
Yeah.
That's what feng shui is. Yeah. Carry on.
For sure. So I think it's true. Like there's places and homes where you go and it's just like
I don't want to leave.
You don't want to leave. Yeah. And it's not that the things are expensive per se. There may be that element to, of course, this is nice. There's a big TV or whatever. But fundamentally, the feng shui of the place it's designed in a way that where energy flows and, things are placed in the right place. And there's been, it's deliberate about design and really a hoarder's home versus, there's such a big difference. So for me, my principle is I never want a hotel to be better than my home.
Oh.
That I like, for me, it's the experience that I have at home is just as good as a hotel.
Yeah.
So even my bedding is white, it's my bed is of a certain pricing and quality, my home and everything. I try my best to make it in such a way that whether I'm at a hotel, whether I'm at home, same difference.
Yeah.
Because I recognize how I feel when I'm at a place of quality.
Yeah.
And how more productive you are, and how inspired, for me, inspiration. You feel inspired, you dream, you're like, wow, I'd really love to do this. Even the meeting just goes better.
Yeah.
When you're in a room that has a certain vibrance and aesthetic about it. So for me, hoarding, definitely by far, the disadvantage of it is that it really compromises the general quality of your life, because you spend most of your time at home. So imagine you're spending your entire weekend at home.
Yeah.
In this, how can you feel inspired?
Yeah.
How can you be a better person? How can you do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that point. However, I would say recently I went on holiday.
Yeah.
And I found that the hotel experience was lesser than the vibe of creating at home. And I was...
So you've ascended, baby.
No, I was annoyed. I was actually annoyed.
No, but I mean, you've ascended.
Thank you. But it was because I'm drawing inference from you saying you want your hotel experience to be subpar with your home experience. You don't want one lesser. Like, you want it to be equal.
I mean, but this is depending on, the types of hotels I go to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I don't want to have that, like, I went to the silo or wherever, and like, I come home and it's like, babe, when are we going to the silo again?
Yeah.
Like, when are we going to that?
Yeah.
When are we going to wherever?
Yeah.
Because it's such a more grander experience than the home experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it'll be the reverse, where it's like, I love home and the different nuances of how home is designed, that I want to be there. But when I go to a hotel, I genuinely want like different dreamy experience, because then there wouldn't be much motivation for me to go out there.
Okay.
So even when I was on holiday, I ended up getting annoyed. Instead of just being present in the moment and just enjoying, I ended up instead being very much annoyed and just feeling like I want to be back home, or home would be better now. And I was having the conversation with my mom's twin, and I was just like, yo, if I go on holiday, it's like an escapism of sorts, or to just stimulate me in with a different reality. So I can't get into that reality and it's the same, because for me, holiday registers as something that is very dreamy, not for every day, something you just do to just recharge, or like put yourself in a frequency of immense inspiration. Because I feel like the nature of home has to be inspiring, but also needs to have a balance of like grounding, functionality.
Right. I hear you.
So all these variables then create the essence of a home. But whereas with the hotel or the holiday, it's just more dream, just lushness.
Right.
So it doesn't have the balances of what the other things that the home would have. And just being there, I was just like, like, this sucks.
Like, you're over the luxury and you're over the grandness, and
I didn't feel like it was grand enough. Yeah. I didn't
Wild.
feel like it was grand.
this is where we're different.
I didn't feel like it was grand enough. And I was just like, yo, take me to a place where
like your
it's
mind
better
is
than my
blown.
home. Yeah, my mind is blown, where I'm inspired, where I'm like, oh, this reality is really different. Like, and that's what I've loved about my travel experience, that notwithstanding that home is great, but I go to the Four Seasons and I'm like, wow. And I just see art, 3D art directly on the wall. I'm like, wow. And then I get into the room, I'm like, there's a little bar here, and I open the wardrobe and I'm like, it opens a certain way. And it's exciting, but is it functional to have that all the time on an everyday basis? Not really, because you want your room to be a place of zen and relaxation without a lot of,
Too much
electricity,
and...
things plugged in. I don't want alcohol lingering around my room with a little bar. So you go to it and you're just like, yeah, I'll just have this 1 week here and experience it, or a few days here and experience it and enjoy it. And then just back to the realism of what I've created that nurtures different aspects of me. So that's where I differ with that. But what would you say when you look at maximalist or having clutter, the negatives? What would you say the positives are?
Of maximalism?
Yeah, or just having a lot of stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think I live that life, and like I said, now getting out of it, I just realized like you had just burdened your mind, your house, everything. And it was expensive. When I think about like all the things I've had to let go, even that process of decluttering and calling people, take this, take that took time and energy.
Yeah.
I spent 3 months, with my house help, she would do the cleaning, and then she'd have to spend time in the other room decluttering. Even my PA had to assist with decluttering my books from school that I just don't see the benefit. Do you think there's a benefit?
I do think there's a benefit.
Okay.
Because with my mom being the maximalist that she is and having so many storages, if there's an event at home, we do not need to call a decorator, a catering company. We don't need to hire chairs. We can literally have an event of 200 people and we would have the chairs for that.
Yeah.
We can literally need to bake cakes, loaves for 500 people, 400 people. Let's say we're hosting and they need tea. We have the utensils for that. We have stuff for a bakery, guys.
Yeah.
We have stuff for like a catering company. We have stuff for like wedding decor. Like we have it all. So every single time you come to an event at our house, you would think, oh, Belle is back from somewhere. We're doing a welcome home party for her. You will think it's something casual.
Yeah.
Then you get there. There's a full-on tent. There's a backdrop with balloons. There's matching tables and chairs, and they're all set. So for me, that's the beauty of maximalism, because in as much as those things are stored in storage, one, sometimes we rent them out when people don't have their own, or they have different functions, so we make money off that. And then two, we're always just having events as family. So even just bonding time as family, we romanticize it, we make it an occasion. It's not minimalist to just say, oh, we have a dining table in the house, we can just set up here. We're like, no, this is a time that we're blessed to have all of us here. So let's just sit down and let's just go the whole way. So even Christmas, the way we do it, like nobody does Christmas events like us, extra. So I really enjoy that. Like I always look at it, I'm like, yo, this is so extreme because we're paying for 3 warehouses. We have a garage full, and then we've got another place in our place full storage. And I'm just like, this is a lot. But then
I'm already getting a headache.
Yeah. And then when I look at minimalism, and I'm like, minimalism is great and all, but like I said, I've got that one glass. So the time that I actually had my 30th party, okay, it's not really just one glass, but it's kind of one glass. So the time that I had my 30th party and everybody was around, and I was like, I don't have glasses to cater for y'all. And my minimalism is also just me catering for my introversion, because I like to visit people. I don't really like to get visitors that much, because I feel like when I visit people, I can control the time that I want to leave. When people visit me, I really can't control the time that they should go. So like,
and I ain't leaving. I'm that person.
So like when they linger on, I'm just like, so then I devised a mechanism, and I was like, you know what? It's just to create things that are just for me and not for hosting. So that way people just get the message where you just get frustrated. You're like, she doesn't even have a glass. She doesn't even have a fork. Like, I'm leaving. I'm like, yeah, that's how it was wired. But minimalism, the negatives of it was that way. You're just like, when you have people come over, you don't have much space for them. Because in my house, I'd have like a one couch and a little dining area. it's really not suited to host a lot of people. There's not enough sitting area for all of them.
Mm.
So you then say this sucks, especially when you've got extroverted friends or a partner that loves hosting, and you just realize that, okay, minimalism doesn't really work in this arena. What would you say would be
The
name
disadvantage?
of minimalism?
I feel like I'm such a big advocate for minimalism. I don't know that I can see or can think of or fathom any disadvantage.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just the biggest one is just it doesn't cater for community. Yeah.
Yeah, although like for me, it's like I can cater for community because now I have more money, you know. Yeah, but I get that, and we're both, like I said, we're both beneficiaries of, to the extent that we can criticize it, but it's true. As in when I need something, I just need to go to my mom's house. I will unearth something. The other day, I decided to go on a juicing journey.
Yeah.
You know, and initially Bella and I had gone to the shops to go see how much they cost.
Yeah.
And I just call my mom, like, Mom, does you have a juicer?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I actually have 2. Come get one.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you know?
That's the beauty.
So yeah, maybe some things also like come with being a parent and recognizing that you cater for so many people's needs.
Yeah.
So it helps that you have abundance and bounty in order to cater for your children, for their cousins, for the community. So yeah, the disadvantage is that it is quite individual.
Yeah.
And that's definitely some level of a disadvantage. Yeah.
Sorry guys, there's just
There's
fly.
a fly. It's annoying.
The clatter. The clatter of a fly. But yeah. I just think it's just very important to take inventory of your mind. Please do remember that the body is an extension of the mind, and the environment tends to reflect what is in the mind, because it's a relationship that the two have. You influence your environment influences you as well. So if you really just want to catapult yourself to the next level, because that's what the sapiosexual platter is about, we're here to cultivate independent thinking, we're here to propel people into their purpose. Please really do think about the topic clutter and decluttering, and how you can evolve energy by simply decluttering. But don't take it too far. Still know that we as Africans operate in community. Even just as people outside of being Africans, socializing is a huge aspect of just creating well-being.
Yeah.
So be mindful when you are going through your decluttering purpose to say, I'm trying to shift energy and trying to move stuck energy. But, however, I still am in a community.
Yeah, I don't exist in a bubble.
Exactly. No man is an island. And on that note, I am Belsa Abo Ame.
I am Shatani Somalakai.
And you have been watching
The Sapiosexual Platter.
Platter.